So I just got the bike fully unboxed right here, and you can see that it comes almost fully assembled. In fact, the only extra parts that it came with is this back seat right here, this charger for the battery, and a small pack of hardware. So let's see what we got to do to put it together, and then let's test it out. So if you want to take your bike from folded to unfolded, we're going to start at this big hinge right in the middle right here. And you can basically hold down on this right here, and then you can grab on the neck right here and kind of swing this front part over until it collapses right there. Now you take this little hinge right here, and you just have to push it all the way down until it locks into place like that, and that's how it's gonna stay locked right on that neck. And then to keep it stood up, right here is the kickstand. We just push down on that, lock that into place, and now it should stand up on its own. And so once I've got that stood up like that, you can see what we still need to do is install the handlebars. Looks like we're gonna have to adjust that seat, and then we're gonna get that back seat on that rack there. So let's get started with this handlebar stem right here. We're gonna take this piece right here, and we're going to drop it down into this piece right here. We're just gonna kind of slide it in there until it sets in place like that. Now we want to come over to this metal knob right here, and we're going to push upwards on that. And while we push upwards on that, we're going to pull backwards on this handle so this can open up and bend down like this. Now we'll go into the hardware bag and grab the largest of the hex keys, and we're going to come to this bolt right here, and we're going to tighten that up. Now this is just a preliminary tightening. We don't have to tighten it all the way, just until we got a nice solid grip of the handlebar base here. So I haven't tightened it up all the way, but if I give it a pull, it's not going anywhere. Now we can readjust that handle by bringing that back together and then pushing this handle all the way in. Be mindful of your fingers not to get them caught in here. Now we'll come up to the top part of the handlebars here, and with our second smallest hex key, we're going to remove this screw and this screw right here until this top piece comes off. Once this is separated, we can insert the handlebars into here. Let's make sure that the brakes are aligned in the forward position, and we're going to take this part of the handlebars right here in the middle here and place it down onto that gap we created. And then once we have that down in that position, we can roll these forward a little bit to expose this area, and then we can take our piece that we removed before and place it back on top there. And then we can take those bolts we removed and get those started up by hand at first. And now we want to get the handlebars roughly in place as we're going to like them. And we can move this piece out of the way right here by rolling it forward or back so we can tighten up these screws here. And when we're tightening these, we should switch back and forth as we go a half turn on this one and then go to the next one and do a half turn on that one, trying to keep them roughly the same tension. And I've gotten this far to realize that I think I'm a little off center here. You can see these grooves right here on this side, but not so much on this side. So I'm going to loosen those up a bit and then move the handlebar to make sure that is nice and right down the middle. Now you can see that those grooves have disappeared on both sides, much better aligned right down the middle. And now you can look right here and you can see that these are not exactly perpendicular to the front wheel, so we're going to fix that. Since we didn't completely tighten up this piece at first, now all we have to do is kind of just hold the bike steady with our knees like this, and then we'll be able to adjust these handlebars like this until we're finally looking perpendicular here and here. So you can see now that was a pretty simple adjustment. And once that's perfectly adjusted, now we can come back up to the top of our handlebars here and tighten these up all the way. Again, doing it at about the same rate of a half turn and a half turn on each one. Those for me are nice and tight. Now we'll come back down to this piece right here. Again, lift up on that metal piece and then pull away from that handle so we can get down to this bolt one more time. And now we can finish tightening that up. And once that's nice and solid, we can close that back up. Again, be mindful not to pinch your fingers in here, and we can close this up by giving it a squeeze. Now we want to take this rear rack and we want to push it forward until this part is parallel with the ground. And in order to do that, we're going to grab our wrench here and we're going to find these bolts right here at the front of the rack, and we're going to loosen those up just a little bit, and that'll let us slide this front rack forward like this. And then we can tighten that back up to hold that in place. And keep in mind, there's a bolt like that on each side of the bike. Now we're going to install the rear seat, so come to the bottom of it and find this screw right here, and then grab the smallest hex key from the toolkit, and we're going to remove that screw right there. And now let's hang on to that piece right there. And now these foot pads right here are going to drop into these slots right here, and then we're going to slide the seat forward to lock them into place. just like that. And now we'll take that screw we removed and we'll install it up underneath the seat to ensure it's locked into place. And now that should be nice and tight so the seat stays in place. We can open and fold the pedals by pushing down on this metal piece right here and then adjusting them. And these can fold in both directions, so make sure that they're locked into place when using them. You can see the seat is already kind of installed. There's a quick release lever right here, so we'll simply just pop that open like that, and that will let the seat come loose like this, and we can adjust it to how we like it. And so we'll actually see on the back of this stem here on the seat, you can see these numbers right here. That means that this 15 will be the maximum insertion depth for this neck down into the bike. And right here, you will see the minimum insertion depth right there. So you don't want to be dropping this into place like this and then locking it right there. That's leaving this part exposed. You'll want it to go down at least till it covers up that height right there, and then you can lock it into place. For me at 6'1", I'm locking it into place right at about at the number 7 mark, like this. Now we actually don't want this quick release bar so easy to use. You can see I hardly have to put any effort into it right now. We want it to be a little difficult to use, so we open it up like this, and then we can tighten this by twisting it to the right, and then that'll make it more difficult to use. You want there to be significant effort put into this bar, whether to open it or close it at any time. So make sure that is nice and tight. There we go, that took significant effort. Now if you find that the seat is either too close or too far to the handlebars, that's really easy to adjust. You just find this screw right here and then you loosen it up, and then you'll be able to slide this railing here through this little mechanism right here. You can see that right here it says minimum and maximum, so you can actually slide that seat forward and back and then just tighten it back up once it's the distance you want it. If your headlamp is tilted to the side, make sure you tilt it up into the direction you want, and then take your second smallest hex key and tighten up this bolt right here. Now let's take a look at the battery system right here. If we hold down this red button, we can see how much battery there is. If there's 3 green lights that light up like that, that means the battery's fully charged. If there were only 2 green lights, that would mean it's at 65% charged. 1 green light would mean it's at 35% charged. And if there would only be 1 red light, that would mean that it's on 25% to empty. Now in order to extend the life of your battery, make sure that you try to never let it fully decharge, so make sure it gets charged up before it hits 0. And our battery can be locked and controlled right here. If we press this in right there, right now it's in the off position. I can turn it on by switching to the right, and that'll make it usable. If I go back to the left, it's on off. Now if I go this way and go one more time to the left, that makes it so it's unlocked and I can actually remove the battery. Now when we want to charge the battery, we'll open up this port right here by sliding that to the side, and then we'll take this end of our charging cable and we'll plug it into there accordingly. Then we'll take this end and plug it into the outlet. And to confirm it's charging, you'll see this red light on the adapter. Once it turns green, that means it's fully charged. Please note that it could take 6 to 8 hours to get a full charge before this turns green, and ensure that you never plug in this battery for more than 12 hours. All right, let's get familiar with the display here. To turn the bike on, we just turn this key from off to on. On the left handle here, we'll hold down the M for 2.5 seconds to turn the display on. And now we can use the horn. If we hold this up button for 3 seconds, we can turn on the front and rear lights. And you can actually brighten these brake lights by squeezing the handbrakes. If you want to walk with your bike, just hold on the down arrow right here and that will put it into walk mode. Make sure you have 2 hands on the bike though, because it might just take off on you a little bit. Now let's run through the settings that we can find on our display here. You can see the energy bar, you can see it's at full energy. The speed, we're not moving at all right now. And down here you can see I've not taken it any distance yet. The first thing we can do is use these up and down arrows to select our pedal assist speed at 1 through 5. Or take it down to 0. But now let's check out further settings by holding the up and the down arrow at the same time for 2.5 seconds. Okay, you can see that we've moved into setting 1 here, and we can cycle through those by simply tapping the M button on our control, and that will move through all 16 different settings that are available. The first one here controls the backlight display brightness. You can see 1 is the lowest, 2 is the next brightest, and 3 is the brightest display. If I want to save that, I can just hit the M and move on to the next section, number 2. Section 2 determines if I'm reading in kilometers or miles. 1 is mile, 000 is kilometer. I'll leave mine in mile. Let's move on to the next one. This is for the voltage of power. We're going to want to leave that at 48. Section 4 is for the sleep interval. We'll leave that at 10 minutes, meaning if you leave it inactive for 10 minutes, it will automatically turn off on its own. Section 5 is the power assist gear. We're going to want to keep that on 5. As you can see, you can change it a little bit, but let's leave that on 5. That way you can change between 5 different gears in PAS mode. In number 6, this is the wheel size inch. Let's make sure we leave that alone. It should be set already. In number 7, this is the magnet steel number. Again, just leave this at 006. In section 8, we have the speed limit. So right now the speed limit is set at 80, but we can change that up and down. Now that's not 80 miles per hour. 80 would be equivalent to 22 miles per hour. I'm going to take mine down to 20 miles per hour, so I'm going to set it at 70. For P09, we have the throttle direct start or kick start. It's currently set on 000, and 000 is the throttle direct start, where the 001 is the kickstart. I will leave it on the throttle direct start. For number 10, here we have the drive model. This one should be 002 since I want the pedal assist and the throttle to both work. If I placed it on 000, that would make it so only the pedal assist works. If I place it on 001, that makes it so only the throttle works. I want pedal assist and throttle to both to work for 002. In section 11, we have the power assist sensitivity. It's currently set at 008, but you can see that can be moved up and down as well. And that 008 means that the pedal must be rotated 270 degrees before the assist begins to work. A setting of 4 would drop that down to 90 degrees, a setting of 12 would raise it to 360 degrees, a setting of 24 would raise it to 720 degrees. Setting 12 is our power assist starting sensitivity. We want that at 003. Setting 13 is the power magnet steel sensitivity. We want that at 012. Setting 14 is the current limit value. We want that at 012. 15 is the under voltage. We want that at 40. And 16 is the mileage zero out, where you can determine to set yours to 0. Now make sure you check that your brakes are working properly and that your tires are inflated to the proper PSI. The front tire should be 26 PSI. The rear tire should be 31 PSI. To fold up the bike, we simply have to fold down the handlebars like this, and then we go back to that middle section and we open that up and we fold the bike back like this. Now at this point you could remove the seat as well to make it smaller. To unfold the bike, we reverse those steps, open up this part and then lock it one more time, and then fold up the handlebars and then lock those in place, and you're ready to go. The kickstand is right in the back here and it pops up really easily. Easy to come to a stop with rear and front brakes. You're not going to sprint off the line with this. There's no dangerous torque to it, but it's easy to control once you get going along. Fun little cruiser that can really pick up speed if you want it to, but it's also easy to slow down and control in precise situations. Overall, I'd say it's a really comfortable ride. Just walk through a few of the really awesome features on this bike right here. I mean, it just looks really cool, number one, but then it's got these strong metal pedals with a nice gear system on it. It's got the rear seat right here that's very useful, comfortable saddle right here too for the primary rider. It's got the simple functions, the nice display, the Shimano 7-speed. It's got the dual fork suspension right there, as well as the headlight, some wheel covers on these fat tires. It's a great bike overall.